an introduction to Dr. Mohammed Ali Shomali, who I first met 18 years ago in Liverpool, along with Manaz, his wife, when they came to a Focolar meeting, because Manaz had a friend in Italy who had met the Focolar movement. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he said if you go to Britain, you must get into the Focolar movement. Is that right?
No, first he told me to get to the people that they love you and they love each other, something like that. First, she didn't mention about the Focolar.
Okay. Yeah.
So when I came to England, so then...
You got in, yes. So
then we asked for the Focolar.
Yeah.
Then they asked for the Focolar.
I asked where are they?
And then they came to a meeting in Liverpool.
Yes.
And then we were invited over to Manchester for a meal. And then they came back to us for a meal. And so it was born out of a friendship and a relationship. And so it's a great pleasure to have you here this morning.
Thank you.
And always very interesting to hear what you have to say.
Thank you very much. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the Compassionate, the Merciful. Peace be with you. I am grateful to God the Almighty for giving me this opportunity to be here with you, my dear brothers and sisters, and in this particular center, which is the Center for Unity. And for me, unity is the main philosophy of life, and I may be able to share some aspects of this understanding of unity today, but maybe during the discussion or later we will have more chance, because I think the more you think about unity, the more you realize that how vast is this discussion. As Frank and Magnus just mentioned, our encounter with the Focolar friends go back to the time that we used to live in Manchester. So I moved to the UK in October 1996, and that was to do my PhD in Manchester, and also I was asked to be the Imam of Manchester Islamic Institute, because in that time we had a large student community. We had 200 PhD students from Iran at that time. And so I was asked to be the Imam. So although I was busy with my family life, my study life, which was philosophy, had nothing to do with religious studies, and also to look after the community, but from the beginning we thought that this is a great opportunity for us to know more about Christianity. Because, in Qom, we don't have any Christian except visitors. And we studied Christianity, but I thought this is a good opportunity to have face-to-face encounter. And we looked for Christians. In 1996, 97, we didn't have that many those many platforms for dialogue. So therefore, for us was difficult to find people who would be Christians, who would be taking their religion very seriously. We wanted, serious Christians, practicing Christians, to be open to dialogue. So we were not able to find some people for some time. Then that was when Mahnaz phoned her friend that, where are those Christians that you were talking about? So then Marita from Liverpool came to Manchester, visited us, and then we attended a day program in Hope University in Liverpool. And then from there, we kept meeting. So we tried to be involved in dialogue, not formally, not just academically. We try to make this really part of our life. So we didn't, miss any opportunity to visit more Christian places of worship, learning, monasteries in the UK and then beyond. With respect to the Focolar, we many times visited Focolar houses in different places whether it be Liverpool, Leeds, Glasgow, Edinburgh, London, Welyn Garden, and then outside. In 1999, the eve of the new millennium, we were invited to a convention that Focolar every 3 years they used to have, maybe still they have, in which there were about 300 Muslims in Rome, and we had very good discussions there, and we also met the Pope, the late Pope John Paul II. And then in 2000, I went myself and Dimitri, who was at that time in Rome, organized lots of programs for me, and we together went to many places in Rome. We went to Assisi, we went to Perugia, then I went myself to Padua and to other places. And also when I traveled, Poland, I don't know, Philippines, US, Canada, everywhere I tried to visit the Focolare, because I thought I need to know more what is special in Focolare, and it's like my family, I have to know more. But also through the Focolare, I came to know of the Benedictines, because Father Jonathan, who was in that day meeting in Liverpool, so I said I want to visit some Christian seminaries, and he suggested to visit Ampleforth, which is not a seminary but a place for the formation of the monks. So I went there and slept one night. Then I took my family, sometime for 2 days, sometime for 1 week. We stayed in the monastery. We had good discussions. And then in 2000, the Abbot Timothy asked me to talk about Islam after a few years of being, knowing each other. And in 2000, 2001, I was in London because I had finished my PhD, and for 1 year I was in London. So I said, I'm happy to give a talk on Islam. He said, Muhammad, what are you going to say? So I said, just, without thinking in advance, I said, I'm going to talk about Islam as general introduction, about Islamic spirituality, then some practical instructions given by Muslim mystics. So he was happy. He said, Muhammad, why are you going to give 3 talks? So we planned that I would travel to Ampleforth, give a talk on Islam, and I sleep overnight and come back next day. So thanks to God, those talks were well received, and we kept hearing that many of the ideas you mentioned are in the rule of Saint Benedict. Of course, later I hear this from different also groups in Christianity, that what you say is also common to our heritage, because I think we all go back to the same roots. So with the Benedictines, we established a long-term friendship, like the Focolare. And my method of dialogue is that although I take part in formal gatherings, but I find some friends and then I try not to lose them. So over years, we carry on. So after these few years of friendship, I invited Abbot Timothy and one of the young monks, Woolston, to visit us in Com, because in 2001 I went back to Com. Some of you may have idea about Com, but some may not. Com is a holy place for us Shia, because we have the shrine of the daughter of our 7th Imam, and also it's the largest Shiite place of learning. We have about some 70,000 Iranian seminarians and more than 10,000 international seminarians. So it's a place of learning, research, and all these things. So I invited them to come and visit us in Com, and in 2002 they came to Com. We organized for them 3 public lectures. We invited people in the town, and we had very good meetings. They were walking on the street of Com with their habits, and no problem. They actually said it's easier than walking with the habits on Oxford Road, street in London. So it was a very good time of dialogue. And then we planned to have a dialogue in UK. on our way back from Qom to Tehran, in the car, we were discussing this, what would be the next step. And then we thought that we should have, in 2003, Catholic Shia dialogue in the UK. And their suggestion was to have it in Ampleforth, because it was their place, they had facilities, and it was easy to organize. But I said, many of our people live in London, not many people in North Yorkshire. In Leeds, Manchester, we have people, but around Ampleforth, not many. So we decided to have one day in London, and then few days in Ampleforth. So they said we should go back to UK and find a potential partner for having that part in London. So they came to find out that Heathrow has interest in this. So Jesuits were involved. So in July 2003, we had the first Catholic Shia dialogue, and we had one day in London, Heathrow College. We aimed at having 50 people, about 100 people. And then we went to Ampleforth. We started on Sunday till Wednesday afternoon. So we have 5 days of dialogue. And there we had only 20, so we can have, more discussion. The dialogue was very well received, and the tablet reported as the first major British encounter of the Catholic theologians with the Iranian Shiite thinkers and theologians. This is what the tablet wrote. And so we decided to publish the papers. So in 2004, we published the first volume, Catholic Shia Engagement, Studies in Theology and Spirituality. 2004, 4 Catholics visited Qom. This time, 2 from Ampleforth, 2 from Heathrow College. Michael Barnes, some of you know Michael, and Anthony Mahoney from Heathrow, and Father Abbot Timothy and Father Bonaventure. They visited Qom, so we had nice discussion. Then we planned the second conference in 2005, the same format, but this time the topic was reason and faith in theory and practice. So we published the book the next year. Again, they visited. Then 2007, we had it in Worth Abbey, and that was on ethics, Heathrow and Worth Abbey, because Abbot Timothy was no longer abbot in Ampleforth, so we had it in Worth Abbey. So we published again the 3rd volume the year after. Then we had a gap because Abbot Timothy moved to Rome. He was in St. Beda College. So in 2011, we had the 4th Catholic Shia dialogue, and we had it in St. Anselmo. You know St. Anselmo for the Benedictines. And then we had the 5th in Qom, and the 6th in Assisi, and the book for the last one was just launched in November, that some of you were there. So thanks to God, so far we have published 6 volumes on Catholic Shia dialogue, but also we have dialogue with other denominations, but for some of them we publish less volumes. We had many opportunities for knowing about Christianity, but what I would like to say is that I always feel in debt to the Focolar, because they facilitated many of these things. They were not later involved, but because they were the catalyst and the people who opened this for us, and through that, we managed to move forward. But with the Focolar, we kept our relations. So many times I took people from Iran to Italy, and I made sure that we go to the Focolar Centre for Conference, Castel Gandolfo or Lo Piano. And we had a very good program, because Mahnaz, as she said, was a graduate, also a lecturer, and working in the seminary for women in Qom. And I also was working with the international section of that seminary. So other than men, we took some women with us to Italy. We have taken them also to Christian universities in US and Canada. But in Rome, we made something special. After the first visit of Italy, in which we visited also Lo Piano, and we were very impressed, and we had a night with the people in Lo Piano, which was very good. We felt very close. So we said we want to go into deeper levels. of the Focolar spirituality and see how we can, explore more opportunities for our own, friendship.
Just say a word for who doesn't understand what Lopiano is.
Okay. So Lopiano is a small town near Florence in Italy, where the movement has a kind of permanent Mariapolis, a permanent place in which the spirituality of movement is practiced, is observed. So it's a place for formation of the people who want to join Focolare, and it's a place that you must visit. Part of my heart is always there. So I think it's a great witness by itself that people can live together, as brothers and sisters with real love, with unity. So we had very good time in that visit, as always we have, but that time was very special. I remember the moments of that night when we talked about love, about, many things. So we said we should take our women again back to Lopiano, but I said we want them to stay now longer, because that time was maybe 2-3 days. So when Roberto, some of you may know, Roberto is in charge of the Center for Interreligious Dialogue in the Movement, and was with Christina Lee, now is Rita, but at that time was Christina. So we invited them to come. So they came with 2 people to come. I said, please bring at least someone from Lopiano. So then they had also Stephanie from Lopiano. So in Com we said how we can have a little program of formation for these Shia women. They cannot stay there for 1 year or 2 years, but a little experience, because I want them to see what is going on there. So we came up with the idea of having 4-week program in Lopiano for these, Shia women. And it was supposed that Mahnaz and I take them there, stay with them few days to make them feel comfortable, and then we return, because we were busy, we couldn't stay 4 weeks, and they continue. And I was thinking that maybe we should go at the end of the ASO program to see the result, and also hoping maybe God gives us again with those moments of strong unity that we had in the previous visit when we met with the people after Lopiano. But somehow plan changed, because as soon as we arrived in Fiumicino airport in Rome, her passport was stolen and the bag, and so we had decided to stay there for maybe 2-3 days. And of course she was sad, she said I wanted to stay longer. So I say, sometime heard your your idea. So the passport was stolen. Now imagine we had to take Iranian passport for her and then visa for coming to the UK. So we were in a very difficult moment. Shall we just send them to Lopiano and we stay in Rome and just look after these paperwork? But he said, no, let's carry on as it was planned, and over phone we follow up. So we went to Lopiano, we had a welcome session in the same night, and then we had lots of programs as planned. And over phone we tried to speak with the people so that they give her a new passport for Iran. Then, we applied for British visa. So we stayed about 5-6 days. But looking back, I say, if I had known what good experiences we are going to have in those extended days, I would have myself decided to stay longer. But for me, there was no way to do that, because with my commitments, I couldn't. But really, those extra days that we stayed was magnificent. And although I've been with the Focolare for many years, but in those extended days, we managed to go into deeper levels of friendship, and I had also chance to have some more reflection on unity, and some of my ideas, came in those few days that I'm going to share with you. So that was very nice experience. And now, God willing, end of April, I'm going to Lopiano, and because I was asked to share my understanding of interfaith with the students in Sofia University. There is a university also there. So I'm going back to Lopiano end of April, inshallah. So many things I have to say, but unfortunately the time is very limited. So what I thought I may share with you is also a little bit of my understanding of unity and interfaith dialogue, and in particular Muslim-Christian relations. I want to start with this story. I was in American Academy of Religion a few years ago, and with some Mennonite Christians, Mennonites. So we have good friends in North America, and we had a panel on Christian-Muslim relation. In the past, academic world had no interest in interfaith dialogue. It was not a subject in American Academy of Religions. But now, in the recent years, you can propose a panel on interfaith dialogue, and then it can be accepted, like our panel. So we had a panel on interfaith, Christian-Muslim relations, and when the panel finished, a lady came to me and she said, when you talk about dialogue between Muslims and Christians, we are frightened. I didn't ask which face or maybe no face you have, but I realized that she's not a Muslim or Christian, because this shows. So I said, no, this is not our idea about unity. We don't suggest unity against another person, a third party. This is totally different from my understanding of unity. What we want to do is to build unity over unity, so much so that then we can embrace everyone. But here there is a very difficult question. People are not all the same. There are people with whom you have lots of things in common. There are people with whom you have less in common. How are you going to suggest a strategy that would help you to extend your unity to all humanity without compromising the stronger grounds for unity that you have with certain people, like people of your own faith? So I said, my understanding is like this. If you throw a stone into a river, for example, you would have ripples. These ripples grow and become bigger and bigger. They don't want to isolate anything. They just want to include everything. But the wider they become, the less intense and strong they become. Okay? So I said, with the people who are closer to you, you can have a stronger unity. But with every human being, there is something on which you can build unity. So we don't suggest to have equal level of unity with everyone. As, for example, with your wife and husband or brother and sister at home, your father, have the same unity that you have with another person in another part of the world. No. There are reasons that you can have stronger unity with some people. But this doesn't mean that you should forget that there are also good grounds for unity with other people. So, for example, I as a Muslim maybe find it that with the Shia Muslims, I have much more to share. So my unity with Shia Muslims can be more than my unity with Sunni Muslims. Okay, that's maybe not bad. But if I say I want to be only united with the Shia, I don't bother about the Sunni Muslims, this is bad. So it's not either or. There is a third option. you have a strong unity with your own denomination people, but you can have another unity with people of the same. Or for example, Muslims and Christians. Maybe for me, unity with Muslims, I'm saying maybe because actually my practice is that sometimes unity with Christians is easier for me than dialogue with some Muslims. But maybe theologically, maybe for me, unity with Muslims is easier compared to Christians. But this doesn't mean that I forget that we share a lot with the Christians or with all followers of Abrahamic faith. Then with all people of good will, all human beings. Actually, I think there is a unity that we have to establish even with the nature. Even with this tree, I have to have a kind of unity. It's not even only for human beings, because we have to be able to establish unity with all the creation of God. So, this understanding of unity, I think, should not make anyone worried. We are not getting united against any person. The second reflection is, what is the core of faith? Unfortunately, many times, we take faith as a list of articles of faith to believe in. And, we say, okay, this person shares 100% with me, so I tick. This person shares 50%, I tick 50%. And based on this, maybe I can say, okay, with this person, I have 100% unity, with this person, 50%, but I think this is wrong. Although for us, faith is very important, but what is the core of faith? And here is where I am firmly believing that maybe with a person from another denomination, I can have more unity than a person from my own denomination, or from another religion, I can have more unity than a person from my religion. So maybe with a Sunni Muslim, I can have better unity than a Shia who doesn't have that core. And maybe with a Christian, I can have a stronger unity than a Muslim. So it's not a matter of names anymore. Sunni, Shia, Muslim, Christian. Although for us, our theological ideas are very important. But those theological ideas are to serve in order to reach that core. What is that core? So this is the main thing. For me, the core is submission to God. And I believe that God is the truth. And this truth is not only a very transcendent truth. I believe that to believe in God who is the truth is easily involving all corners of our life. Sometimes when I give a speech to community, I said, if for example you have an issue between husband and wife, there is a truth here. Either you are right or she is right or you are both wrong if there is an issue. There's a truth here. Don't think this truth belongs to her or you. This truth belongs to God. If you are not able to acknowledge the truth and commit yourself to that truth, in a sense, you are ignoring God. Don't say God is the absolute truth and we don't deny absolute truth. No, that absolute truth, if it's not penetrating into all corners of life, then this is not a faithful life. We have to be able to see that truth in every corner, in every moment of our life. So, if a person has this submission to God and the truth, and he or she doesn't belong to my denomination or my faith, but he has that submission, he is closer to you, if you are also submissive to the truth, than a person from your own denomination or religion or even family. Maybe I have a brother or cousin who is also Muslim and Shia and Iranian, speak Farsi, we have blood relation. But if he is not submissive to truth, and I have a Christian friend from another part of the world who is submissive to truth, which one is closer to me? Of course, this person is closer to me. But for us, this is something that is maybe difficult to accept. And even if you accept, difficult to declare. But I think this is part of your commitment to the truth. So, in one of our visits of Focolar Centre in Castel Gandolfo, I came to this conclusion. We were talking about love, I said to friends that I think the problem that we have in the world today is that there are people who have not experienced the beauty of love for God. This is one problem. And unfortunately, none of us in this room understand how much a person suffers when he doesn't have love for God. Because we are gifted with this. Unless if someone was faceless, I don't know if anyone was faceless here, we have been from childhood experiencing love for God. Therefore, we belong, that we have connection with this world. Even if I go to a place that I have never been, I don't feel a stranger, because this is my Lord's world. Yeah? If you go to a farm that belongs to your father, you don't feel a stranger, even if it's the first time. Everywhere, with every people, I don't feel a stranger. But someone who doesn't believe in God, not only is a stranger, he's an orphan. He doesn't know who is his father, who is his mother, why he is here. So there are people who don't have this beautiful experience of love for God. And it is our joint responsibility to invite them towards love for God. Unfortunately, we first invite them to Islam and Christianity. Then if there is time, we talk to them about love for God. That's secondary issue. We want to increase the number of our own people, unfortunately. I'm not saying about you, I'm saying about many of us. But love for God is important. So why we Muslims and Christians cannot work together to talk about God? Not God of Islam or God of Christianity, which is not true God. God of everyone. So if we work together and invite people towards God, it has bigger impact than I only call towards God of Quran or God of Bible. Then they say, okay, this is your own, business. This is your own, personal interest. So it's our great responsibility that we together call people towards God. It has bigger impact, and many people don't like this. There are people who like us to fight. Then you can say, look, these religious people are troublemakers. Let's get rid of all religions, then we will have peaceful life. Instead of we working together, they are making us work against each other. But we have a second problem. The second problem is coming from the people who have love for God. So some people don't have love for God. Some people have love for God. But the love for God is not a good one. How? Can love for God be bad? Yes. Sometimes people love God in the way that they want to possess God. You love your car. No one else can use your car. Yes, maybe you give him permission for a few moments, you use my car. But it's my car, not your car. This is my pen, this is my laptop, my phone. So some of us want to possess God. My God, not yours. In some countries, unfortunately, Muslims and Christians have, issue about whether they can use the name of God in the other one's culture. For example, in some countries, Muslims have taken Christians to court. Why you say Allah? I cannot understand. And there are some, Christian, people who say Muslims should not say God, because God is for us, not for Muslims. They should say Allah. I don't understand this. Is it something that you can have monopoly over it? This is a very little God that someone can own. What we should have is a genuine love for God. And that is to be possessed by God. Instead of me possessing God and bringing God to my level so that God can serve my interests, I should be possessed by God so that I work for the causes of God. God who comes to my level cannot even see my wife happy. If she has issue with me, even my wife cannot be happy. God who comes to my level cannot see other tribes happy because it's God of my tribe. God of my people, my community, my country. This is the problem. When God becomes possessed by a human being, that God can actually be very destructive, very divisive, and can justify all the crimes. But if you are possessed by God, then you try to be godly. And when you look at everyone from God's side, then you would love them. Then you would care for them. So, this is another, I think, problem. That we have people who love God, but not in a genuine way. They are not possessed. So, I have something more to share about unity, but I think I stop here. And I hope that God the Almighty would give us that gift of genuine love, that we would be possessed by Him, and we would use everything that we have to serve Him, to serve the truth, to serve His causes, instead of serving our own selfish interests. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.